Hi everyone, I forgot to click a button, so I'm a few minutes late. I was just talking to nothing. Can everybody hear me? Somebody tell me if you can hear me, because I don't know. It's all good. Okay. You can hear me. That's nice. Well, today we are going to be doing the Isekai tier list. The list is ready. So I'm going to switch to the screen with the old tier maker on it, and we can get started. La 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 la. Streamlabs. La 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 la. Okay. So, as you can see, I have many isekai that I've watched, some, in many cases all of, and I'm going to rank them. But before I get started, I kind of want to talk through what I'm doing with the ranks, because I know this is going to be like contentious and everybody's going to get into arguing about where I place things, but I want to talk about like what they mean before we get started. So SS tier obviously is the ones that I know enough about to say that they're, you know, God tier. But I've also got S tier here, which is going to be the ones where I think they have the potential to be just as good as those. I just, you know, they haven't, you know, had as many seasons, or they haven't got as deep into the story, or I just am not as familiar with the story yet. So there'll be things that have the potential to maybe go up to SS. A, again, similar thing, could go up to S, but I'm going to be ranking them based on what we currently know from anime, and also just my general thoughts on them. So it is, I've said that it's the exhaustive isekai tier list just because there's so many of them, but I can't say it's, you know, the general ultimate tier list, because obviously it's all just my opinions. As we go through them, I will be responding to the chat, more or less, but try not to completely derail me, because if you start asking me about some random thing like my dress up darling, and that's going to take away from the whole isekai thing, then we will be here all night. Just let me catch up with the chat. Oh, and we have a couple of super chats already, so I've got a couple of ara-aras to do. Ara-ara, thank you, the man they call Cobra Jason Thompson. And ara-ara, thank you, Balsamon35. I will be doing ara-aras, because people seem to like them on the birthday stream. But if you want me to say something different, you know, just let me know. I can say nya, or senpai, or uwu, oni-san, whatever you like, really. Okay, if everybody's ready, I'm going to start with the first isekai. And tier maker has kind of put them in random order. So the first one is this one, which, yeah, I did pick these pictures myself, but some of them I'm going to actually struggle to remember which one they are. This is Didn't I Say to Make My Abilities Average in the Next Life? And I saw this years ago. It's not one of my favourites. It's very slice of life. It's quite cute. I'm going to open this with a C tier for this one. I think it had some cute ideas and stuff, but it, you know, it wasn't especially memorable. I don't think it really did anything that innovative. So yeah, we're going to start with C. C is going to be decent enough. Like, I wouldn't say don't watch it. I wouldn't say it's bad. I wouldn't even say it's boring. I would say it's a decent enough show. B is going to be pretty good. A is going to be very good, and obviously S and SS. You know what those mean. And the D stands for dog water, because that's where all the really crappy ones are going to go. So, next we have Arifureta. Now, this one is a difficult one, because I've only seen a few episodes of the anime, and the anime, I know from talking to other people, isn't considered to be a very good adaptation. And I haven't seen all of it, so, you know, I didn't enjoy what I saw of it particularly, but I believe it has the scope to be a lot better as a kind of light novel series or whatever. It does sound like it's got some edge in it, and we all know I like a bit of edge. So I'm going to put it in C, but I think it is something with the potential to be better than a C. Okay, let me just take a minute to ara some people. Let me have a look at the chat, see what you thought. What have we got here? Succubus bait. Ara, thank you very much. Always aras for you. And ara, Adalom, thank you very much. Yeah, the aras for super chats are a new thing someone suggested to me in the middle of my stream last week. And I was kind of having fun with it, so everyone gets aras now. Let's have a look at some of the other comments before we get to the next one, which is Ascendance of a Bookworm. Mushoku D tier, your channel doesn't talk about that vast story. Yeah. Because it's in a random order, we're going to get to the ones that I think you can probably guess where I'm going to put them fairly late. We got Rudius down here and Subaru down here. But there are some other shows I like. It's not just those two, so. Okay. Time for Bookworm then. I would say. Now, I like Ascendance of a Bookworm, but I'm not one of those people that's completely like infatuated with it. I think it's got a decent premise. It's interesting. It does go into some strange directions later in the story, which I don't know how they're going to pay off, whether they're going to be good or whether it's just going to kind of go a bit, well, we're just kind of taking the story off into weird places. And, you know, it's very difficult to say without having read it, whether it's a good direction or it's just kind of, let's just do some stuff with magic now, you know. Judging it just on what we've had in the anime, I would say it's an A. But probably it's not going to be one of the highest A's for me. I don't know, what do you guys think about that? A's, A or B, maybe even S. That's like 3 different ranks, Silver Dust. Ara, thank you, DC. How did Arifureta change halfway through the goofy, like, Kemono Michi rise up? I've never seen an anime change to slapstick halfway through. Did it do that? I didn't see long enough to see it kind of go in that direction. It was still quite edgy, up to where I saw, which I don't mind because I love a bit of edge. Kemono Michi we will get to later. Ara, thank you, SF Giants fan Mike. We're getting a lot of A's for Ascendance of a Bookworm here, a couple of B's. I think a low A is where I am with it, but I think possibly people who've read it might put it higher because I have heard the light novels are good. I might read it after I've done, currently reading Overlord, then I'm going to read Shield Hero. It is one I'm considering as possibly the one to do after that, but I'm also considering Sword Art Online, so, you know, we'll see what I end up with. My thing with Bookworm was, like, the main character, mine, I think, depending on who you are and what your interests are, she either comes across as, like, a very flawed character, which I think is interesting, you know, where she's actually quite selfish about the way that she wants to create books just for her own enjoyment, you know. She's not being sort of altruistic and saying, I want there to be books so that people can learn, and, you know, or because there can be stories. She's kind of like, she doesn't even mind if she wrote the book herself. She doesn't mind what's in it. She just wants to engage in the activity that she likes the most. And if they picked anything else, if she was a big soccer fan and she'd like bought an orphanage and made all the kids play soccer against each other, that would seem, like an interesting but not particularly like, oh, she's such a good person kind of main character. But where it's books, I think people are quite attached to them as an idea. People who are a bit of a bookworm themselves tend to think of her as, quite endearing because of that. And, I think she's interesting when you view her as a kind of flawed, fairly selfish, sometimes quite ruthless character. She does basically open a sweatshop. It's, to me it's interesting, but I think some people like it more because they find it quite wholesome. I actually think it's interesting. She's kind of dark in a way, but, that's just my thoughts on it. Let me just do some ara-aras. Ara-ara. Thank you, Blanc Blanc. It was actually you that suggested that I do the ara-aras. I could make a poll for you to vote. I think I'll do that when we get to some more contentious ones, though. I think with Bookworm, most people are kind of happy with A. But also, I'm queen, so if I say that if I say something's going in dog water and you don't all agree, it still gets to go in dog water. Have you watched or read Grimgar? I haven't actually, no, that's why it's not on the list. I'm sorry about that if that's one you were hoping I was going to talk about. I don't know much about it at all. Okay, happy with an A. Okay, if people are generally happy, we'll move on to the next one, which is Combatants Will Be Dispatched. I like this. I did find it entertaining. I think that you can't really talk about it without comparing it to Konosuba, though. And while I think the comedy is it's not quite as good as Konosuba. I think the author wrote it before Konosuba, so was still kind of like refining how he, implements that kind of comedy and that kind of group dynamic. And the characters aren't quite as iconic as the ones in Konosuba, but it is still solid and funny. And I think in a way, actually, the story is decent from what I've seen. So, given I kind of know I'm going to place Konosuba very high, I'm going to say for Combatants Will Be Dispatched, I'm going to say it's a high B for me. What do you think about that? Also, everyone's trying to push Grimgar onto me. I will go and watch it. Not right now, though. What I'll be watching after this stream will, of course, be Attack on Titan, because it's Sunday, and for some reason I seem to always end up doing my streams on Sunday, and then looking forward to watching Attack on Titan after that. But I'm not going to talk about Attack on Titan, because that will derail me. People going for C for Combatants Will Be Dispatched. Maybe it will get moved down later. For me, I still feel like B in terms of entertainment and that. And like I said, comparing it to Konosuba, I feel like Konosuba will be higher than a B. Yes, I'll give you that spoiler. So I have to put it lower than Konosuba because I think Konosuba is better at being what they're both trying to be, and obviously they were written by the same person. I'm going to leave it at B for now. The next one. Now this is one of these super generic ones. I can't even... Is this Death March to the New World Rhapsody? It's one of those. I think it's Death March to the New World Rhapsody. I can't even recognise this guy because he's so generic. If it's Death March to the New World Rhapsody, we'll put it in dog water. I think it's... I don't even know if anyone even remembers that show. It was pretty poor. So we'll move straight on to How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. Now, when this first came out, I actually thought it was going to be dog water. And for the first few episodes I watched, this is right back when it first aired, I was like, oh, I'm not sure about this. This is very ecchi, you know, for an isekai. It's not like Sword Art Online at all. And I kind of like stopped watching it at that time. But then last year when season 2 came out, I was like, you know what? I think my tastes might have changed since back then. And I think I might enjoy How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. So I rewatched the first season, gave it a good chance, and then I watched the second season, and I'm going to say I like this. It's trashy, but it's good. And actually, the character dynamics between the girl characters are actually quite sweet, you know? I mean, and it doesn't lie about what it is, you know? The ecchi stuff is definitely front and center, but it's also funny. It is also comedic. And I think the plot's alright as well. I'm going to say How Not to Summon a Demon Lord is also going in a high B next to Combatants Will Be Dispatched. What do you guys think? Natalie had embraced her inner degeneracy. Yeah, definitely. When I first started watching Isekai back in the day, it was like, yeah, they're all going to be these really interesting stories about fantasy worlds and stuff. And I was trying to write like what I thought was really innovative idea. I was sort of writing romance and erotica at the time. I was like, I know what would be really funny is if you made like a porn version of that, you know, of these Sword Art Online type things. And so I started watching them all thinking I was being really original. And yeah, apparently that was what it was all along. So, you know, I grew to appreciate things like How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. Now, the next one, the MILF Isekai. I believe the proper name is something like Do You Love Your Mum and Her Multi-Target Combo blah 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 blah. Yeah, I didn't like this. I thought I was going to though. I thought it was going to be funny. But the jokes all kind of just went on way too long, and yeah, it just wasn't making good use of the humour potential of the whole mum thing, you know? I didn't finish it, so it might have got better. I think I watched about 6 episodes, got about halfway through it. I wouldn't say it's properly dog water, because it is at least interesting, you know, as a concept. The whole thing of the game not being quite complete, so that everything's sort of a bit glitchy inside the world, is kind of cool. I'm going to put it at a C, but it's going to be a very low C once we get some more C's in here, because it's definitely not as good as, I would say, Arifureta or Didn't I Say to Make My Abilities Average in the Next Life. Going up a little bit higher, because I've got an Ara Ara. Thank you, Lewis Stewart. And anybody else needing an Ara Ara? Ara Ara. Thank you, Yamil Diaz. Have you read Death Mage? It's a fun isekai novel. I haven't, no, I'm afraid. Those are my new Ara Aras. And I will answer your question, Lewis. I'm just coming back down on my scrolling, putting in the work and hours. Personally sad that such series as Dot Hack and Inuyasha couldn't make it. Yeah, I wanted to keep this to the modern isekai. You know, like I said in the video I released earlier, comparing all of these shows, I feel like that's become a genre in its own right. And while I'm happy to talk about the older isekai shows, you know, I'm not saying that they're inferior or not worth being on this tier list. I just feel that they're kind of their own thing. And once you get into talking about things that don't fall into this kind of light novel isekai kind of vibe, you can start including all kinds of stuff. You can start talking like Hunter x Hunter has isekai arcs, Bleach has isekai, you know, and I don't really think that the scope of an isekai tier list should be including things like Bleach, you know. Is Those Who Hunt Elves included? No, for the same reason, because that's from the 90s, and I'm just doing the ones from the 2010s and 2020s. But I do actually like that show. It's pretty cool. I like how there's a tank that meows. What else have we got? Okay, the next one is Drugstore in Another World, or Pharmacy in Another World, or something. This is one of those kind of slow life type ones. It's very chill. It's just a guy trying to, you know, live a peaceful life and run a drugstore. It's not a kind of aspect of the genre I'm particularly interested in. I'm not really, unless they're very heavy on comedy, the kind of slow life ones, maybe they're just not edgy enough for me, you know. I'm not going to say it's dog water, because I think that there's certainly stuff in there for the kind of people who want something chill like that, that's just kind of peaceful and happy. So I'm going to put it in C, but again, it's going to be a low C. Next, I'm going for, this is currently airing. This is the That Time Life with an Ordinary Guy Who Gets Reincarnated as a Fantasy Knockout, or Fantasy Bishoujo. It's an interesting concept, and so far it is pretty entertaining. I can't really say that I can put it too high because it's currently airing and we don't really know if the joke is going to get old or whether the kind of dynamic between the two of them is still going to be fun and entertaining later on. But for now, I'm going to put it in a low B. I think it's worth a watch, and it's quite a cheerful show. It does have some interesting and unique stuff in it. And so far, I think the comedy is more hit than miss. Ara, thank you, Razan. You and the viewers might enjoy the Celestine Chronicles if you ever find the time. It's more on the erotica side, but it has an isekai type setup with bits of mythology, especially Greek. Well, you know, I don't know about my viewers, but I certainly don't mind if it has a bit of an erotica side, you know. Thank you for the recommendation. What are we saying is B or up in here? The Fantasy Bishoujo. Getting a lot of B's for that. So mid B, BB, some C's. I think more or less you seem happy with the B there for that one. Next we have Faraway Paladin. This one I think is really good actually. But where there has only been one season and I haven't read it, I can only really base my judgment on the anime, which is really what I said I'd do for the whole thing, but, you know, obviously it's going to influence that a bit if I have read something. I'm going to basically put this one in the S tier. I believe it possibly even has the potential to go higher, but the light novels aren't very far along yet, so this is kind of an ongoing series as far as I know. And so I think we have enough information to say currently it belongs here. I mean, if it completely chokes and the next season is just boring, then we can move it down. Or if the light novels turn out to be amazing, it could maybe even one day gain its entry to the heaven that is the god tier of SS. What do you think about that? Getting A's and S's. It started out hot and then started to drag its feet, in my opinion. Low A, high B. I don't know. I think Faraway Paladin was kind of just getting into the interesting stuff, really, towards the end. I liked the first part with his parents, and then it kind of seemed like I was sure it was going to be like building some harem after that, you know, like building up a party at least, but, you know, for the sake of it being a light novel series, they would all be, you know, beautiful girls. And no, it kind of went in a completely different direction from that. I think, you know, his heart belongs to Gracefield, you know, and he's a good Christian boy. So it's kind of interesting seeing a protagonist like that. And towards the end, when he started using his powers more and became a little bit more ruthless, stopped being such a kind of, you know, goody two-shoes boy, we saw some interesting potential for how the character might develop. And yeah, I think for me S is right, but let's see. Next we have Assassin Aristocrat, which is also from last season, and is another one where I would say it has a lot of potential and I think it's good. I don't think it's as well executed, I would say, as Faraway Paladin so far. Not in terms of production or anything, I actually thought the animation was really good. I mean, in terms of the story, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in the story and it could potentially turn out really well. But there were a few things in it that just kind of didn't make sense to me. I don't really get why he was so in love with Dia, the girl, when he'd kind of been established as a character that was going to be more kind of using the women around him as kind of like, not uncaringly, but using them as tools for his intended assassination. And then it's suddenly like, no, I am in love with this one. And it's like, why are you in love with that one? What's wrong with the other two? You know, I found that all a bit, I wasn't sure what Rui Tsukio was doing with the character there. But, you know, it was entertaining, it was good, and there was a lot of potential. I also thought the pre-Isekai part, like how he died, was one of the more interesting ones I've seen in an Isekai. I mean, you see a lot of Truck-kun, but you don't see a lot of Isekai protagonists getting killed by basically 9/11-kun. So I thought that was kind of cool. I thought Rui Tsukio did something interesting there. And yeah, that is the same author as Redo, for the people asking. So I'm going to put him in A, probably there for now. I do think it's one that has the potential to go higher up further on in the story. I believe the season of anime that we got was based only on the first light novel. So, you know, it's possible there's a lot more coming in that series. I'm just going to answer a couple of questions about this one. I saw someone asking, is By the Grace of the Gods here, or do you know there was that one as well? I haven't seen it, I was aware of it, but I just never got around to watching it, so it's not on the list. You think Kid Yami A is a reach? What, for Assassin Aristocrat? Okay, well, Redo is on the list. No, Redo's not on the list because it's not an Isekai. We're talking about how Assassin Aristocrat was written by the same author as Redo of Healer, Rui Tsukio. This assassin's... The world's finest assassin gets reincarnated in another world as an aristocrat, is the one we're talking about. Next we have the Fruit of Evolution. The Fruit of Evolution, I didn't watch much of it. It did seem to be kind of tongue-in-cheek. I think some people took it seriously and found it to be dog water. I think if you don't take it seriously, it's probably a C. I don't think it has the best kind of comedy, you know, it's not up there with like Konosuba or something, but I don't think it's playing it straight when it comes to the stuff that's in it. So I'm putting it in a C for decent. I think I'll put it higher actually than these two. No, I'll put it higher than this one because this one's a bit more boring. This one's kind of, it's whether the comedy hits or misses for you really with the MILF Sekai. Most people put in it in D. The Fruit of Evolution. Is Spirit Chronicles or Moonlit Fantasy on here? Moonlit Fantasy is, Spirit Chronicles isn't. but we will come to Moonlit Fantasy when I get to it, because they have randomly put them in this, whatever order this is. But yeah, Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy is down here. So, next up we have Full Dive. Full Dive. I thought this was good. I liked it. It was a kind of interesting mix between the trying to sort of subvert the expectations of the whole Full Dive RPG, isn't it fun thing, and just comedy about how the guy pisses himself all the time, which, you know, I honestly don't count being trapped in an MMO or VR MMO as Isekai, because it's not another world, it's just a game. Yeah, I mean, that is true. But I have included it because even though he's not even trapped in the game, he can actually leave. I've included it because I feel like it's still quite a good representation of this kind of narrow K, modern Isekai light novel type feel. It doesn't have much that distinguishes it from that. And I wanted SAO to not be the only one like that on the list, so I've included it. Also because I like it and I wanted to talk about it. So, Full Dive. The other thing to note about Full Dive is it was written by the same author as Overly Cautious Hero. And if we were to compare the two, I would say I prefer Overly Cautious Hero, so it needs to go lower. I'm going to put it in B. I'm going to put it probably below How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, but above Fantasy Knockout, just because Fantasy Knockout, we don't really know whether the quality of that's going to keep up. How about Digimon? Digimon isn't on the list because I am doing the kind of post-SAO modern light novel based isekai feel. But I used to like it when I was a kid, I guess. I haven't kept up with it, you know, so I don't really know what the state of the current Digimon anime is like. But back in the day, I used to think it was cool. But you left out Axel, though. Yeah, that's because I haven't seen it. So, next we have Gate. Oh, this will be an interesting one. This one is always divisive. I like it. I think Gate is good. A lot of people feel that it's a bit too political, or maybe not even political, but you know, it has certain political ideologies of the author in it or something like that. I don't know enough about Japanese history or Japanese kind of military stuff to really know if it's trying to sort of push anything like that. For me, it's, you know, looking at it as someone going to a fantasy world but bringing with them the capabilities of like the modern military is kind of interesting. It's kind of cool how you get to see those things in conflict, and how the people from Gates world can't really do anything up against like tanks and fighter planes and stuff. I also like the characters, especially Rory. So for me, I'm going to put it in A. What do you all think about that? I think it might even have been S. It's a long time since I've seen it, that's the thing. I watched it as it was coming out, and I haven't rewatched it since. So I may actually... I was being conservative putting it in A because I thought maybe I'm remembering it to be better than it was. I'm gonna make it a high A for now. Might consider moving it up to S later. What else have we got? What are people saying about it? A lot of S's for Gate, so maybe it could go up. I wouldn't be averse to putting it in S, let's just say. Is this the full version of the Isekai video you made earlier? No, that basically the video I put up earlier was an analysis of the isekai genre as it stands now based on this list, because I'd made this list in preparation for the stream, and I thought, well, we've got 48 isekai here, so by, you know, analysing which ones have different features, we can learn some stuff about, you know, the trends in the isekai genre, and also whether it's true that the isekai genre is predominantly male power fantasies and all that stuff that certain corners of the internet like to complain about. So that was more of a kind of essay analysis type video. This is just a straight up tier list. This is just which ones I think are good and which ones I think are dog water. So, you know, a lot of people like Rory. I'm glad I wasn't the only one who thought she was awesome. Next, we have High Rise Invasion. Now, this is a strange one because it is very much an isekai. A lot of people get transported to another world. It isn't a fantasy isekai and it isn't a light novel. It's based on a manga, which I actually read all of as soon as the first season finished because I thought it was really cool and I wanted to see what happened next. It was kind of underrated, I thought, as an anime. Not a lot of people talked about it. It might have been in Netflix jail now I think about it, but I thought it was really good, and so I'm going to put it in A. It's definitely got a lot of those kind of edgy manga death game type vibes. If you like stuff like Gantz and things like that, then you probably enjoy it, but it's kind of a change from the usual isekai. The main character is a girl, and there's quite a lot of fan service. There's a bit of Yuri too. There's all kinds of stuff. I put this guy in the picture just because I think he's kind of iconic, but he's not really the main protagonist. But I'm going to put it in A. Maybe because I've read the manga, but you know. What country is CET? Central European Time, so it's most of Western Europe. I'm in Italy. Have you heard of Outbreak Company? It was a pretty decent isekai that came out a while back. I have heard of it. It's one of the ones I haven't watched, so it's not on the list. I do plan to watch it. It's just, you know, I can't watch every single thing in advance of this stream once I decided to do it. I did rewatch some bits of some stuff just to kind of refresh my memory, but I didn't really have time to, you know, actually watch the whole of any of the series that I found that I hadn't watched. So it's not on here. What next? I can't tell what any of these shows are by the picture. Yeah, it was actually difficult to find pictures for a lot of them. Of the right kind of size to use for the tier maker. I'm actually having trouble remembering what some of them are myself, and I only made this yesterday. So sorry about that, but I will say the names of them while I'm talking about each one. So, you know. Here, the next one is High School Prodigies Have It Easy, Even in Another World. And I personally thought this was dog water. I'm going to put it here unless anyone really manages to persuade me that it shouldn't be in the D tier. Just another couple of questions. Are you Italian or just live there? I just live there. I'm British. Ara, thank you, Rub. Or should I say RUB? No, that's not your name, is it? That's the currency. Duh. I don't know how to say your name because I can't read Russian. I'm sorry about that. But Ara anyway. I believe Bookworm is rather S tier. The world building is mind-blowing, the characters are complicated, the path of the MC is full of trial and error. You know, I think that's a reasonable point. I haven't read it, so I can only go by what's in the anime. And as I said, I don't really feel like the anime has shown enough for me to say that I think it has S tier world building or anything in the pipeline. And maybe I just didn't really enjoy the setup of it as much as some of the other shows that I'm going to be putting in S. But I can certainly see why people enjoyed that. Ali S. Please say bottle of water. well, that's actually not how I pronounce it, but I'll say it Cockney for you if you want. Bottle of water. I say bottle of water, but, you know, it's no fun if I say it properly, is it? Okay. High School Prodigies was the kind of absurd that only certain people can like. I found parts of it hilarious enough to make it a lowest C. So that's just slightly out of dog water. So people who liked it still are putting it in low C, so I think it can live there. I had a feeling you were British. What, from my obvious British accent? Yeah. Yes, I am. But I've lived in Italy for quite a few years now, so... Next we have Iruma-kun. I think this show's really funny and cute and I love it. So I'm going to put it in... I think I'm going to put it in a high A. But maybe even... For now I'm going to put it in a high A. I'm going to put it maybe in between these two. Because I think I enjoy it more than Bookworm. I wouldn't necessarily say it's better from a like what's gone into it point of view. I think Gate has a lot more interesting concepts in it, but is again maybe not quite as fun. I think I'm happy with them in those positions, but a lot of high A's. Some people saying Iruma should be B, some people saying Iruma should be S. I've put him in high A, which I think is alright. Seems not to be too far below what people are saying. It's lovely to see how much you've grown, Nat. I remember those days when you were at 30 subs. Oh, super injustice. I seem to remember at some point I did promise to buy you a car if I got to 1 million subs. So, yeah, but obviously everyone starts off with just 30 subs though, so thank you for being there for me all this time. Is easily an S one of the shows that improves as time goes by? You mean Iruma? Yeah, I mean, it's... it definitely got more into the kind of dynamics of the school and everything in the second season. I don't know, it's just good. I can't really think of anything that missed in Iruma. It was funny all the way through. The characters are adorable, and it had some, you know, some quite cool plot lines as well. So, you know, I'm happy with putting it there. It could maybe go up. I don't know. I haven't read it though. I heard from someone who was reading it just yesterday on Twitter actually that the manga is really good and has good artwork, so it might be one I give a read to soon. But let's move on to Isekai Cheat Magician. I didn't like this at all. I think though that it was exactly what I expected it to be. It was like it felt like a big waste of time, you know, for everyone involved. But yeah, well, I'm going to put it in dog water, but I think it's dog water for kind of the same reason as Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. It just doesn't really seem like... It's not completely incompetent. It's not one of like the worst shows I've ever seen or anything like that. It's just like, what's the need for it? Why does it need to exist? What's it bringing? You know, even for just watching some light-hearted nonsense, I think there are better shows. You know, there are shows that are better at being light-hearted nonsense. So, yeah, it's in the dog water tier. Nobody seems to be... Some people wanted me to put it in the F, which we don't even have, so... You know, some people think it's too bad to even be in the dog water tier. They want it to be in the failure tier. William Jones, how many episodes do you watch each time? It depends whether I like the show or not. I mean, some of these shows I've watched multiple seasons of. Some of these shows I've watched maybe 5 episodes of. I don't have anything in here where I've only watched like 1 episode. I've definitely watched, even the ones I really don't like, I've probably watched 3, 4, 5 episodes. The ones I kind of dropped because I found them a bit meh, I've probably watched maybe half a season. And the rest of them, even actually some of the ones I don't like, I've watched all of, because, I think you can learn stuff by watching things that you don't think are, well done or well executed. And because I did start watching Isekai primarily because I wanted to write Isekai, it was useful to me to see what to avoid, what does make one feel boring compared with entertaining, So yeah, I've watched quite a lot of episodes, even of some of the ones I don't like. I think of the more recent ones, I do tend to drop them sooner, because now I'm not writing books, I'm making YouTube videos. I kind of need to focus my anime watching time on things that I have something interesting or useful to say about. And if something's kind of boring, I'm probably not gonna keep up with it every week. Is Princess Connect here? No, because I haven't seen it. Omnipotent Sage, is that on the list? Yes, it is. I'll get to that later. Not related, but did you ever watch or read Claymore? I watched the anime. I haven't read the manga. I thought it was good, but I feel like it's something that needs a reboot, because it did have an anime original ending, and I think if they were to continue it, it would be better to kind of just go back to the start and remake it. While I'm being derailed, I'll answer another couple of questions. This is super off topic, but is Father Bubbles ever coming back? You seem to be the only one that knows what's happened to him. I don't know. I don't think he'll ever come back as an anime channel. He was too concerned that the copyright strike situation, where we were all getting strikes from Kadokawa last year, was going to lead to him getting a YouTube ban, because he had plans to make some other channels. He wanted to do some things around some horror stuff and some other things. And so he wasn't so much worried that he'd lose his existing channel, but that he would never be able to make any of the other projects he wanted to do. So he decided to delete that content, and I don't know where he is with the other projects, to be honest. Last time I spoke to him, he was literally moving to another country and stuff, and was in the middle of a lot of things that got in the way of him being able to do that stuff. So that's all I know about his future plans. But he wasn't banned. He did choose to delete his own content. So that's really all I can tell you about that. Okay. Natalie, you should read Yojo Senki. Yeah, that's also in my to-read list. Actually, I was going to start reading that quite a while ago. Like, my boyfriend bought me what he thought was the first light novel, because I've been saying I wanted to read it, and he just bought it for me as a gift, and he accidentally bought the manga instead of the light novel. So I have the first volume of the manga, but I don't really like reading the manga adaptations of stuff that was originally light novels. Usually I just prefer to read whichever format it was originally written for. So I've got it, but it's just kind of there, having its artwork. I'll probably get the digital copies and read the light novel series soon, but I've still got to read Overlord and Shield Hero, which are my next two. Well, Overlord I'm currently reading, but Shield Hero will be next. And then I was thinking of Sword Art Online, but I may read Yojo Senki instead. It kind of depends what mood I'm in, but I will get to it because I really, really like it. And we will get to it on this list as well, because it's here. Jojo Senki. No, Yojo Senki is Saga of Tanya the Evil. Next we have Kemono Michi, which is that one where the wrestler becomes a furry in another world. This was actually written by the same author as Konosuba and Combatants Will Be Dispatched, but this was a manga rather than a light novel. I thought it was all right, but it definitely wasn't up there for me comedy-wise with anything like Konosuba. I think it was a a fun show, but I don't really remember many of the characters aside from the main guy. I'm going to put it in a low B. What do you think about that? B at best, high B. The Pet Shop anime, yeah, that one. Don't even know what this is, probably C or B. Kemono Michi was confusing but enjoyable. Was funny but got a bit boring. It's funny as fuck but the story sucks, C. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the intention of it was to be funny. I don't think it was supposed to have a particularly good story, but I felt like some of the jokes got old long before the series ended, kind of thing. You know, being a furry, or not being a furry, but everybody thinking he's weird because he does furry-like things. Kind of, it was funny, but it got a bit repetitive, I guess, on the comedy, and I don't think the other characters were quite as good supporting characters as in the author's other works, so I really only properly remember the main character, whereas in something like Konosuba, even the most minor side characters are pretty memorable. So next we actually have Konosuba, and okay, this is going to be one where you either properly agree with me or you're not going to like this, because this for me is the first one to go here, because I can't say that you can compare it to other things that will end up here at all, really, in terms of writing, but for a comedy anime, the story is actually good, you know, just as an isekai, it's a very good story, but that's not even the point of it. It's like the point of it is the comedy and the character dynamics, and yet it still manages to have a better isekai story than a lot of the more serious shows that have ended up in these sea and dog water tiers. So I'm putting it in SS. So if anyone wants to debate that with me, no, it seems like a lot of people are happy with the S. The SSSS, how many S's can you give? Proper SSSS Gridman levels of S's. So yeah, that's there in double S. I actually thought more people would be arguing. Okay, answering a couple of questions. Have you done Spider yet? Spider is down here, so no. Spider will be later. Just going to take a quick drink because my throat's getting tired from all this talking, and then we'll do Kuma Bear. I think the other thing about Konosuba, though, just thinking about it, is it's probably the show I've rewatched the most of all anime. Like, whenever I'm just kind of like, I want something that's gonna make me happy and make me laugh, I actually never get bored of Konosuba. You know, I'm always happy to put it on, especially the movie, strangely enough. I just put that on and just laugh, you know. So I would say I've watched it even more times than I've watched, you know, ReZero. It's a show I really love, and so it's up there. Kuma Bear. I thought it started strong and was pretty entertaining, but I don't know how I felt about it was just all little girls by the end of it, and there's a bit too much. You can have too much moe, you know, you can have too much wholesome, cute emotos. I kind of wanted there to be a bit more, you know, some different characters that weren't just little kids, but that's probably just my taste. I think it was funny. I liked the main character, and I liked the whole idea of the Kuma Bear thing, so I'm gonna put it in a high C. all yuri, all lolly, all imoto harem. It was kind of, I could never really tell if it was going that way, you know, if it was supposed to be a harem or if it was just supposed to be like wholesome family thing. And you know, I mean, I think that was probably, I would have liked it more if it had more adult characters and stuff and not been so much on the cute little girls, but that's probably just my taste in characters. Somebody else says, I'm the same with Psyche K. What I was saying about Konosuba, like watching it whenever you want to be cheered up. I actually do that with Psyche K as well. Psyche K is hilarious. In the Land of Leedale is the next one, and that's from this season, so we don't know about the whole season, but I have to say I've already kind of not hard dropped it, but I've kind of like lost interest and stopped keeping up with it. I didn't dislike it. I mean, some of the comedy in it's kind of good. It just, yeah, there was just nothing particularly memorable about it that made me want to keep coming back to it. I can see why people would enjoy it as a weekly seasonal show, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be one people will even remember watching, you know, if you ask in like 2 years time or something. So I'm going to put it in a low C, kind of with the drugstore one. What's everybody else saying? Some A's for Leedale. So there are some people that really love it. I didn't know that. I'd never got the impression it was one that, you know, anyone was particularly passionate either way about, so it's interesting to hear people say that. Could certainly go up. Like I said, I haven't given it a huge amount of chance. I've maybe watched 4 episodes. I could see the comedy being decent, but you know, at the moment I'm not feeling particularly compelled by it, so I'm going to leave it here in the low C's. Next we have Log Horizon. Now for me, I'm going to put Log Horizon here, because I would say we do know a lot more about it than we know about Faraway Paladin, if you're up to date on the anime. I haven't read the web novels or light novel, but I think we know enough about Log Horizon to know its quality is good enough to put it here. But I would say that it has some boring bits, you know, some bits in the second season where it was all really kind of like, let's just have a festival for some reason, and you know, it felt like there was some filler basically in Log Horizon. And I think overall the quality of it, the writing and all of that, is deserving of an S, but I don't think it has that little je ne sais quoi to put it in the SS tier. So I don't know, it's in the S. What do you think of that? Most people going for an S, except for Log Horizon is so goddamn boring. Fair enough. Did you ever watch Digibro's Log Horizon videos? I always think of that channel when I talk about that show. No, I didn't. I never really watched that channel, to be honest. Always found him a bit strange. You know, in the way I know he's trans and is now a she, but because I'm talking past tense about what was on the Digibro channel, I'm saying he. So before anyone thinks I'm doing that to make some kind of statement, it's just, you know, it was a channel that we all knew as Digibro. I would say he kind of was always like, oh, I'm not going to have any music. You can't analyze videos, analyze anime properly if you're distracted with all this YouTube stuff. And I kind of thought, well, okay, I can kind of see what you're doing, but it was also like, that's a bit gatekeepery and pretentious, and not even gatekeepery in a good way, you know. So I was never really a fan of him, and you know, didn't watch it. So next we have, what's this one? What is this one? Is this Master of Ragnarok? Oh, it's straight there. No, there. Master of Ragnarok. that's going in the dog water. Yeah, dog water. Anyone want to argue with Master of Ragnarok being dog water before you try and encourage me to say things about Digi? Because I don't want to get into that, really. I want to like Log Horizon, but it strains my attention span in the way Spice and Wolf does. It's not something I pick up without being mentally prepared. I would totally agree with that. Yeah. It is one of those shows where you know it's good and you know you're going to enjoy watching it and you're going to get something out of it, out of thinking about it all, but you also have to be in the right mood. Whereas some of these other shows, you can just put them on whatever mood you're in and have a good time. And that's Konosuba up here. You know, poor Master of Ragnarok, it deserves better. Does it though? Does it though? Lower than dog water. We can make a new tier for Ragnarok that's the lowest possible. No, I don't think, I think giving it its own tier would just be acknowledging it more than it deserves, you know? I think it can just go there. An emotional damage tier. No, I don't have one of those for all the failures. But yeah, Master of Ragnarok and Blesser of Aijin of the I'm not one of those people that knows about Norse mythology, alright? So I don't even know how to say the title of the show. What kind of water are you guys feeding your dogs? You'll be pleased to know I only have cats, I don't have dogs. But cat water that I carefully get from my Brita water filter to give my cats nice clean water is not what Master of Ragnarok is. That's like a bowl of manky dog water where the dogs have already drank it a lot and slobbered in it, you know? And next we have Make You Black Company, which I thought was really good. It was surprisingly good. Like, it seemed like it should suck, you know, or not suck, but like it should be around here somewhere, you know, like, oh, capitalism in another world, yeah, you know. But it was like, the characters were really cool. Like, you had Rim, who was nothing like Rem and Ram, or Rom, but was probably more like, there's almost like a trend for these characters that are like demon girls that are either, they have like an adult form and a lolly form. We saw it in Jahi, obviously, that's the main character, but it was also in this, and I'm sure I've seen that kind of done in a couple of other shows. And this, it's something that I'm here for. I kind of like the way that you have the cuteness of the little lolly form, you know, because they're never sexualized in the lolly form, they're just cute and nice. But then when they're in their adult form, you get the kind of cool design. So I like that a lot. I also like the main character. He was kind of like somewhere between a villain antagonist and just cool, you know? And kind of like, I like the plot as well. Yeah, the crocodile guy was great. He was good too. Yeah. I'm going to put it in a high A. I'm going to put it there next to Irimakun. We had Skyrim in Skyrim. Ever saw how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom? Yes, it should be on here somewhere. I don't know which picture it is. Oh, when we get to it. Oh, it's that one. Yeah, we'll get to that. Next, we have an interesting one, which is I'm Standing on a Million Lives. And I wanted to put this in because, like, nobody seems to watch it. Oh, sorry, I'll just answer a couple of questions. Have you watched World's Finest Assassin? Yes, we've already done that. It's in A tier. What else have we got? It tackled anarcho-capitalism perfectly. It was an A tier for me. Yeah, is there in the A tier? For me as well. Some people would put it in S. Some people think it belongs lower. I would say, I can't really say I'd put it in S because I don't think it has the long-term potential to end up. I don't think it has like the long-term potential that Faraway Paladin does, and it doesn't have enough content to say it's as good as Log Horizon, you know, consistently, whereas it isn't, I don't think, finished either. So I think A is about right for it as it stands. But, you know, Million Lives, yeah, back to Million Lives. I love I'm Standing on Million Lives. I think it's really good. The first season, I think the animation let it down, and I feel like a lot of people who liked the manga maybe didn't like the first season, so it kind of never really got discussed very much. But season 2 did come out, and I thought it was good. A lot of people also didn't like season 2 because it had an anime original arc in it. But just for me, because I haven't read the manga, I found I was really looking forward to it every week. And I think that that's the sign of a good show, you know, if you're actually like, if it's one of the ones you're excited about watching each week. And I was trying to hype it up even on Twitter because nobody was really talking about it. And it was a season that was pretty mid, to be honest, that it was in. So for me, it was one of the high points each week watching that. Watching season 2 of that, I mean. And there was some really hype stuff in it. The bit with the goblins was mad. I don't know, like, I think I like this show probably more than it deserves, maybe. So I would be inclined to put it really high, but I'm going to put it here, I think. Above Combatants will be dispatched. What are people saying about it? We got B. I kind of hate how they always forget key knowledge that they should already know. Million Lives is at least A. I just finished season 2. It gets really good. Yeah. See, I kind of want to put it higher, but I feel like people will be like, yeah, you can't like it more than you like, you know, one of these other shows that that maybe I just don't. And there's a couple of shows in here I know that I'm going to put lower than people want me to put them, and so if they're below I'm Standing on a Million Lives, people are going to, I don't know. For now, it's, for me, in a high B. A very high B, though. Oh, look. And you get to go. Even. No, Aqua, stop fighting back. Aqua did not want me to put Rudius above her, but if I put Mushoku Tensei anywhere other than here... Oh, hang on. Ara. Thank you, nobody. Thanks for the content, Ara. Thank you for that. Yeah, Rudius here he's really the reason I made the SS tier. I think if it had just been down to, you know, I could have put all my favourite shows in S and then just ordered them. But because I talk about Mushoku Tensei and Re Zero so much on my channel, and I think people know how, well, pretty much everything I think about those two shows, I feel like they needed their own tier because otherwise you knew where I was going to put them anyway. Konosuba not so much, because I don't really like to talk about Konosuba so much, because I feel like once you start analysing a comedy show, it stops. You know, it just kind of sucks the joy out of it, really. You know, I can talk about how and why the jokes work and, you know, from a writing perspective and things like that, but I just don't think that's as interesting as talking about the serious ones. So, yeah, I think we all knew that Rudius would be here. And I think probably the main surprise is that I rank Konosuba as high as my other biggest favourites, but I don't think that's an unusual opinion, though. I think a lot of people do put Konosuba just as high as the more serious shows because it just is that good. You know, I mean, we're going to have a lot of people who obviously won't think that Mushoku Tensei belongs up here. I just don't think that those people probably are in my audience, because, you know, I've been pretty much nothing but a Mushoku Tensei channel for a few months, for the last few months, so probably the people that really hate it all unsubscribed from me anyway. Next up, No Game No Life. I really like this, but it's been a long time since I actually watched it. And again, I'm not really sure if I just remember it as being better than it was because I hadn't seen as many isekai back then, or, you know, because it just looks really good. I love the way it looks. Like, the art and everything for No Game No Life was just so good. Even when I just see, like, images from the light novels, when I'm just searching for images to use in videos, anything you see from No Game No Life to me just looks so pretty. I just love it. And yet I don't really remember the story that well, so I feel like I could be remembering that I enjoyed it more than it maybe deserves, because I would be inclined to put it in S, but I kind of like, I'm gonna ask you by a poll. So just quickly, how do I make a poll, YouTube? Okay. Should it go in S tier is the question. If it doesn't go in S, it's going in A, so I'm not going to ask you, you know, which thing to put it in. But the question is, should it go in S? I'm not going to put it in SS because, again, I don't feel like I don't trust that I'm remembering it well enough to say that I like it anywhere near as much as Konosuba or Mushoku Tensei. Obviously, if I liked it as much as Konosuba, I probably would have rewatched it, you know? Whereas instead I'm kind of basing everything on my memory of it. And, you know, I don't think I can say that I like it as much as Konosuba, but I think if I was just picking this out without sort of discussing it with anyone, I would put it in S. No Game No Life isn't done though. Well, neither are any of these in the anime. These both are in the light novels, but we're really considering the anime. So A, because it'll never get a season 2. Well, we don't know that. I mean, we thought The Devil is a Part-Timer would never get a season 2, but it's going to. So No Game No Life could. High A but below Bookworm, which is S. I know a lot of you want me to put Bookworm up, but I just don't like it as much as these other shows. I can't help it. Sorry. I'm going to put it in S. I'm going to put it in S, and I'm going to put it above Faraway Paladin, because I think we'll get more Faraway Paladin fairly soon, but I think I'm going to put it there. Log Horizon, we already have a lot more of it, and I think, yeah, it's going to go there. How do I end this poll? End poll. And next we have Overlord. Overlord. I love Overlord. I've been reading Overlord, and, you know, I always liked it as an anime, but the light novels are awesome. I haven't even got past where the anime's up to yet, but just the amount of extra stuff in it, the amount of world building and time spent with different characters is just really good. I really think that although the anime is very entertaining, the stuff you don't even see in the anime really kind of fleshes everything out and shows you what the concept the author's working with is. And I just think Overlord is great. But is it S or is it SS? I think I'm going to put it in S because we are talking about the anime, and unfortunately season 3 wasn't beautiful. Yeah. I don't think I can put it in SS with... I can't put it in God tier for the anime. Possibly if we were discussing light novels, it would be up there. But for the anime, I'm going to put it in here, but I'm going to put it high S. And again, I think if it was based on the light novels, I haven't finished them yet, or at least I'm not up to date on them yet, but I would say the quality of the novels would deserve to be up there with your other high tier ones, but the quality of adaptation, I think, means it should go in the S. And that's only because the story is so good. It would be lower if you just based it on the quality of the CG goblin army and the CG goat babies and all of that were pretty bad. Ara, thank you. What do you think? Would Emilia Camp, Emilia, Subaru, Rem, Garfield, Otto, Frederica, Roswell included, be able to stand ground against Orsted? No. Only if Orsted was preserving his mana, then I think that they would probably be able to. If they had a lot of time to plan, they might be able to beat him. But if it was just kind of like they didn't know who he was, the situation that Dead End were in the anime, then I don't think even they would be able to do much about him. But if Reinhard was there, then, things might be different. Okay, I don't really want to get... Will you do a light novel ranking? Probably not, because I haven't read enough series in the same genre to really do that. It would not be very comprehensive. So, no. Albedo will not be happy with you for this ranking. Well, yeah, and she is terrifying, so... But, I did say that in his novel form, the Supreme One probably does deserve to be in God tier. But for now, she's just going to have to bow down to the greatness of Rudius and Aqua. Okay, next we have Overly Cautious Hero. And I thought that was good. I liked it a lot. Happy to see it included in Isekai Quartet. But one thing I really like about Overly Cautious Hero is that you can, although it isn't finished necessarily, you do get a complete story from watching the seasons that are out. So you can watch it and think, yeah, that's the story, that's how it ends. I'm happy with that. Which is not a luxury we're afforded very often when it comes to light novel adaptations. And I thought that the characters were all really likable, really entertaining. I'm going to put it in S, but a low S, just because I don't think it necessarily is as iconic as some of these other shows. But yeah, entertainment-wise, story-wise, I liked it a lot. It's very good. And now we have... Well, sorry, I'll just see your responses to that a little bit first. Most people saying high A. I think a low S, but, Cautious Hero I think could even go up the S ranks as it carries on, if it carries on. But no way it's as good as Overlord. No, I mean, Overlord is top of the S. Overly Cautious is currently bottom of the S. We got No Game, No Life, Log Horizon and Faraway Paladin in the middle. So, these are in order for me of taste. So, what was I about to say? Oh, Devil is a Part-Timer. Based only on season 1 and not having read the light novels, though I do know some spoilers. Nah. it's going there. I really love The Devil as a Part-Timer, but I'm not necessarily sure what kind of direction it's going to go in season 2. I know a lot of people who have read the novels and they're not quite sure how it's going to pan out in terms of an adaptation for the next arcs. So for now, based on what we have and based on the fact it is a show I've rewatched quite a few times, just because it's really great, I want to put it in SS. It doesn't have the animation flaws and stuff that are keeping Overlord from getting up there, but I don't know how good of an adaptation it is. I can't really judge it on the light novels because I haven't read them, but I think just in terms of things, if I was going to sort of put things in a box to say this is the isekai genre and this is why it's great, I would like it to be in that box, so I'm putting it in the top. Problem Children is S, at least 8. Oh, that's the next one. Let me just look at a few others. What about Escaflowne and Inuyasha? A lot of people keep asking the same questions, I guess, as other people are joining the streams who weren't on the stream at the start. This is only for stuff from around the early 2010s onwards, so things that count as the modern isekai genre, the kind of narrow K, light novel adaptation type stuff. I guess what the less cultured of us would call, you know, the SAO clones. So I didn't want to open it up to anything that has a hint of isekai in it, or anything that has ever existed about being sent to another world, so like every anime adaptation of Alice in Wonderland that there's ever been, or anything like that. So it is just that kind of show. Also, I think a lot of people would argue with Inuyasha because technically it's time travel, but you know, I will I just wanted to answer that again because a lot of people ask about different shows that don't fit into the normal criteria I was using for what I'm calling a modern isekai or a narrow K style isekai. Ara, thank you Z's World. If you'll just give me a second to have a sip of my Coke Zero, then we'll talk about Problem Children are coming from another world, aren't they? No SAO. No, SAO is on there. I'm not going to leave SAO off. I mean, yeah, technically we can talk about whether SAO counts as an isekai or not, but what it definitely does count as is this kind of modern narrow K light novel type genre. If anything, it's kind of one of the most iconic examples of that, and I really feel like people would just be asking me about SAO if I didn't put it on the tier list, so it's on there. But anything older, you know, sort of like I said, like Inuyasha or anything like that, is not included. Soda is unhealthy, go with sparkling water. It's Coke Zero, it practically is sparkling water, just with some flavourings to make it taste nice. Problem Children are coming from another world, aren't they? I like this. I've watched this twice. It's funny, it's quite interesting as well. Like it's not the typical model that you've seen 100 times before, and I like the rabbit. I'm gonna put this, I think, about here. For me it's an A, but it's in with these kind of more fun A's like Iruma and Make You Black Company, not the more serious one, Gate, that I've got here. I feel like Problem Children could go higher if there was more of it, but it was very short, and I think it just got cancelled in Japan, didn't it, as far as I know. Don't lecture me about drinking Coke Zero. I have no patience for that. And yes, aspartame is harmless. Isekai Quartet. This, I mean, it's a bit of a weird one because it's not really a normal kind of show. It's like a parody of a spin-off of a parody or something. But I think that if you've seen all of the other shows that are included in Isekai Quartet, you can't really fail to like it. It's not like they've just come up with some comedy sketches and used skins from the shows, you know, so the jokes would still be funny whoever, you know, they'd used. There's a lot of references to the other characters, and even to kind of deeper stuff from the novel series and the source material. There were actually loads of references to later on in Re:Zero than the anime had reached in the first and second season of Isekai Quartet. And as I read other series that they've covered, I notice more and more stuff. It makes me just want to rewatch it every time because it's fun. So on the other hand, I don't know that I can really put it too high because it is just a gimmick, kind of casual 7-minute long thing that you watch for fun, so you can't really say it deserves to be up there with something that, you know, is telling a deep story or whatever. So I'm going to put it in here, low A. But I do feel like if they add Mushoku Tensei to Isekai Quartet next, that's going to just be peak. And just going up a little bit further. Look at some of your notes. Have I missed your placement of Restaurant to Another World? No, I haven't done that one yet. It is on here. I can't remember which picture it is though. Oh, it's that one. Yeah, it's in 2 animes time. Yes to Mushoku in Quartet. It would be so good. Wait, so is Quartet canon? I thought it was for like kids. It's not canon, no. It's one of those kind of funny spin-offs in the same way as there's that like Attack on Titan Junior High or something like that. It's obviously not supposed to be canon in the story of like Overlord, that at some point they all got transported to a weird school with like Kazuma, but they are supposed to be, you know, referencing the canon of all of those stories. So the characters are supposed to be there with the knowledge and experience from their own stories, you know, so it can reference things that we know because we've seen the stories. And it's just kind of an opportunity to make some pretty interesting jokes and put some characters together that we've always wanted to see talk to each other, like Subaru and Kazuma. So yeah. Have you read Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint? No, I don't know what that is, sorry. I want Spider in Isekai Quartet. That would be good too, actually. Quartet is comedy, but not particularly for kids. I mean, no, it's not for kids at all, because you wouldn't really get any of it unless you've seen probably at least 3 out of 4 of the main shows in it, but it's, you know, it's better if you've seen all of them. And no child should be watching those shows, you know, no little kids anyway, you know, should be watching for entertainment, you know, things like Konosuba and Re:Zero. So Ara, thank you, FR Joe II. Eventually, I'll be able to forgive you for not liking High School Prodigies. The anime version has problems, but Shinobu is too cute to dislike it. I honestly don't remember even who that is. I'm really sorry. they already have Aoi Yuki. Who does Aoi Yuki play in Isekai Quartet? I'm drawing a blank on that. But they can have two characters played by the same person. They've already got Megumin and Emilia, and Subaru and Grants from Tanya the Evil, who are played by the same actors. It's a shame that Shield Bro had very little screen time in season 2. Yeah, I know it was, but it also was pretty funny, you know? It was like, he's just introduced, but he just does not care about their shenanigans, and he's just having none of it. I thought that was actually pretty funny and kind of in character for me. And Raftalia's just trying to like interact with them normally. I still think one of the funniest things in Isekai Quartet was, you know, they have the A class and the B class, and then there's just a class that's just Yin. And for some reason that just cracks me up. Ara, thank you, nobody. But we're all somebody's kids, though. I want to watch it. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we can be kids and like Isekai Quartet, but, you know, we also have to be somewhat cultured to watch Isekai Quartet. Aoi Yuki is Tanya herself. Oh, okay. Yes, I'd forgotten about that. That does make sense. And Tanya and Kimoko, can't speak because I've been speaking for a long time now. Tanya and Kimoko both being played by Aoi Yuki. She would have no problem pulling that off, though. I mean, Rie Takahashi manages it in the scenes with Megumin and Emilia, but Aoi Yuki, I feel like she can do anything, to be honest. Yun's suffering is peak sad and peak comedy. Yeah, it's just like, and Yun, she just puts on a brave face, and like Yun, like, she's the kind of character that would be best girl in any other show, and she's just kind of like, no, in Konosuba, she sucks, she's sad. You know, it's so mean, but it's so funny. I love it. Okay. Have you already placed the Saint's magic power as omnipotent? No, it is... Oh, it's there. It's just after ReZero. But the next is Realist Hero. Realist Hero, I actually am behind on. I haven't dropped it, but I just haven't caught up on it all the way. So I was planning to catch up on it before making this video, but I didn't have time because of all the faff around getting my earlier video up, where I had to render it like 3 times to get rid of some issues. But Realist Hero, I think it's good, but I think it's also one that you have to be in the right mood for, and that's probably just why I haven't caught up with it. Haven't always necessarily been in the right mood for it. I think I'm going to put it in B, and I'm going to put it there. Like, it's not as fun as these 3, or it's not as fun as these 2, or as edgy as this one. I think story-wise it's a bit more intricate than these ones, but these ones are also good, probably more on the fun side than this one. So I think there is alright. I don't know, what do you think? Realist Hero? See, it tries to make me fucking think. That's pretty much kind of like the TLDR of what I just said, isn't it? I can't really be bothered to watch it. It's too much for braining. Ara, thank you, Balsamon35. Aoi Yuki is #1 waifu. Do you know, I actually don't think I know what she looks like in real life. I don't know if I've ever seen a picture of her, but she's so good as a voice actress. She's just so... It was such a travesty that she didn't win Best Voice Actress in the Crunchyroll Awards. That was the one I was most salty about. And I mean, like, I kind of think with the voice actor ones, anyone who was on there did kind of put in a good performance and deserved to win, because, you know, there you're talking about real people's acting performances, not things that, you know, are kind of contributed to by a whole company or a whole kind of bunch of things. It's just that one person did their job, but she had the hardest job probably of any voice actor. Definitely harder than Komi's voice actor, at least, you know. Ara, thank you, nobody. Cultured is connoisseur for... Sorry. Cultured is code for connoisseur of exotic arts. Yes, that's what I always tell people if they're, you know, we're all studying international literature here on my channel. Can ReZero go in E tier? Not for quality, but for eyebrows. We don't have an E tier. Okay, Restaurant to Another World. This is an odd show. It doesn't really belong on this list, to be honest. It's sorry. Ara, thank you, Yamil Diaz. If you pick the Isekai Avengers, who'd you go with? Probably just the cast of Isekai Quartet, because that's got Reinhard and Ainz. So, you know, if you've got Reinhard and Ainz, you've got all the power you need. I would like to put Orsted in there as well, but, you know, like I said, I'm hoping that Mushoku Tensei gets gently eased into Isekai Quartet as well, so we can see all of them together. Ara, thank you. Rudy, I have 3 wives. One is a half-elf. Subaru, wait, you married yours? Rudy, the second one is my magic teacher. Roswell, wait, you married yours? Oh my god, yeah. Rudy would be like the biggest Chad compared to those guys. You know, if you took adult Rudy. But sorry, I'll go for a restaurant again. I was saying Restaurant in Another World. It doesn't really fit because it's kind of like one-shot stories. There's a big focus on the whole food element. I don't know if you can compare it to the typical sort of adventure type stories or comedies that most of the isekai genre normally represents, but I think it's good to have it here because it kind of shows some of the more diverse ideas that people have gone with for the isekai kind of concept. It's like, oh, isekai, people getting transferred to another world. There's almost endless possibilities that you can make up for that idea. And they don't have to be like mind-blowing things. It can just be a restaurant and still be engaging. But I can't really say like enjoyment-wise it's my kind of thing. I would put it here. So it's B. I think quality-wise it could probably go quite a lot higher. But just for me personally, I have a lot more fun with comedy-type stuff than I do with the more wholesome type of things, and just looking at food all the time when I'm trying not to eat carbs is not so easy, so I'm going to put it there in a low B. A for aromatic. That would be reasonable. Who would win in an Ainz versus Satella battle? Satella, but only I think a lot of that would depend on which setting they were in and what access they had to the things in that world. Plus, we don't really know how strong Satella is, other than from Tape Nagatsuki saying that a fight between her and Reinhard wouldn't have a winner. It would just kind of go on. So if Reinhard would be a draw with Satella and he's supposed to be the strongest in the world, that he's told us about so far anyway, then I would say Ainz, we don't really know for sure that he is the strongest in the world. He doesn't even know for sure that he is. We don't really know what the limits of that world are. We can only really talk about Ainz's strength in terms of Yggdrasil, and even there he wasn't the strongest. So it's kind of, is he just super strong because nobody else in that world has reached the level of OP-ness he had access to in the game? Or what? You know, there's too many kind of mysteries regarding what Ainz's actual, you know, limits are. And Satella is just all mystery, really, but she could probably just swallow the world. And so even if Ainz could withstand that, he would just be a lonely, bony man. And she'd be like, Aishiteru. And then Albedo would be somehow still alive and try and fight her. I don't know, I'm writing a whole fanfic here. Maybe it's just to delay the fact that next we have to do ReZero, and then we go ReZero is mid, so I guess it goes exactly here in the middle. No, obviously not. It goes here for me, but it's tight between these two, and it only goes here above Mushoku Tensei for me because of reasons of like literally pure taste. I kind of prefer the tighter, you know, feel that ReZero will only be for a few years. It's not kind of a sprawling long story that takes over a whole lifetime. I kind of just prefer the fact that ReZero doesn't have a huge focus on the kind of more domestic stuff that Mushoku Tensei has a lot of, just because that's the kind of story I like better. The stuff that is like that in Mushoku Tensei is done really well, and I none of this is a criticism of Mushoku Tensei. It's just that if I had to pick between these two that I love both of so much, I have to go down to things of just purely which one has the tropes I like the best in it. And currently it's ReZero, but the only other thing is that ReZero isn't finished and could have a disappointing ending. It could, you know, it could suck later on. I don't think it will. I really have a lot of faith in Tappei Nagatsuki as a writer, but with Mushoku Tensei we know it has an ending, and I'm not going to be spoiling anything in this stream. It's just, it has an ending, and I believe it's an excellent ending. So, you know, it's hard to pick between these two, and I would like to have them both equal. But if I'm forced to put one above, it would be ReZero. And then Aqua not very far behind them either. It's just you watch Konosuba for a completely different feel and experience. And same with The Devil as a Part-Timer. You know, if these two could be considered equal, and then these two just a little bit behind them. So, I'm just going to look back at the comments while I was saying that. ReZero kinda dog water. Ah, fuck, I gotta go to work. I wanted to see where Tanya the Evil ends up. I'm casting my SS vote now. Keep it in mind, or I swear to God, I will sit and cry for hours. You want that on your conscience. I don't think you'll be disappointed with where I put Tanya the Evil, but I'm not going to bump it up because, you know, I've done all the others in order, so I feel like it would be cheating a bit to do it now. So the next one is The Saint's Magic Power is Omnipotent. Just one moment to give another ara. Thank you, Yamil Diaz. So Saint's magic power is omnipotent. Personally, I don't really like this one. I dropped it. I watched maybe 5 episodes. It wasn't for me, you know. I can see why people do like it, but it was a bit slow. I didn't really like the main character. Maybe I just don't like that style of story, you know, where it's the kind of making things and saving all the bishy boys. I don't know, it's just, I think if it wasn't an isekai, you know, if it was just a normal historical fantasy type thing, I probably wouldn't even have noticed it or watched it, because it doesn't really have any overlap with stuff that I'm into. So I think probably I would be a bit of an unfair judge of it, because I'm judging it as an isekai when really it probably has more of a feel of a genre that I don't really watch. So I'm gonna let you guys say what you think of it. I certainly wouldn't have put it in dog water anyway. I probably would have put it in C, but I could be persuaded to go higher by you guys. Saint's Power is a cultured A. For me, it's S. Really? I would have thought, even if you liked it, I don't know how it ended, but like, did it have anything even memorable in the story? I mean, from what I saw, it was mostly just healing and making potions, and it wasn't really like, I don't know. B, it was a nice little slice of life. Mid B, solid B, 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 B. C or B is fine. Low A or high B. Since everyone is saying B, and I would have put it in C, I'm going to put it in low B. Because, like I said, I don't think I'm the best person to judge it, because it just isn't my kind of thing. Kind of the same with the Drugstore in Another World. It's not the kind of thing I typically watch, so I'm probably not the best judge of it, but I just can't see that it could have anything in it from a writing or action or interest perspective that would make it higher than any of these shows. So for me, it's going at the bottom of here, because it certainly wasn't like as funny as any of these ones, or as interesting as probably Realist Hero. So yeah, I don't know, I'll put it there. I liked it, but it was pretty mid. Fair enough. That's pretty much what I was thinking. For the people who did like it, it probably was still kind of mid compared with some of the other shows. And now we have time to stop talking about the Saint's magic power is omnipotent and talk about Sword Art Online. Now, Sword Art Online. For SAO, we need to split Alicization high B from the rest low C. See, I don't know about that. I have seen all of it. I haven't seen SAO Alternative, but I've seen all of the main line of SAO, including Ordinal Scale. I would say Ordinal Scale was dog water, but some of the mainline series I think was really good. It's just kind of like, my thing with SAO is you certainly can't say it's boring, and you can't say it's not something that we're richer for having in our anime world, because we can argue about it, we can you never feel like there's nothing to discuss with SAO. I think a lot of the hate for it is unfounded, but at the same time I also think that Reki Kawahara isn't great at writing realistic characters. He's good at writing fantasy characters, I think, which is why the first part of Alicization and the part of Alicization that was mostly new characters like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Alice and the various characters from that world, those were all really good characters, and they felt like the best characters SAO had ever had. And he writes them well, but when he starts trying to write like realistic teenage kids that are gamers and things, it all comes out very bizarre. It's like he sort of doesn't really know how, especially girls, like how they talk or what they think about. And you end up with bits like in the second half of Alicization, the bit where like Liz is giving a speech to the gamers to try and persuade them to go and help. And it's like the stuff that she brings up is like, why is anyone arguing about this? Like, just tell them people are going to die if they don't, it's like, it was one of the most cringe speeches when you compare it to like the really well written speeches in like Gate and things like that. It's just like, why even have any of this sci-fi nonsense going on? Because it didn't even make sense. Like, Alice was going to be used because she demonstrated she had free will. But why did they want an AI with free will to pilot a plane? Like a fighter plane? Isn't that not just the same as having a human piloting it? I don't really get why anyone would do it. It's kind of like that when you think about like Resident Evil and why would the companies want to create these like mutant super soldiers when they could just bomb people? It's like the sci-fi that is created just so the story can happen. And I feel like if he hadn't felt like he had to put Kirito in it and he had to do all this, he could have just written an isekai in the Alicization world and not had any of that sci-fi nonsense at all, and just done the story with Yu-Gi-Oh! And Alice in the War and all of that stuff that was actually pretty good. So, that's kind of my feelings on Alicization. But SAO, to rank it overall, I also thought Ironcrad was pretty interesting when I got into it. The pacing isn't great. The way it ends, the Ironcrad arc ends, is pretty much like legendary for its just bafflingness. But if it hadn't ended like that, we wouldn't have got probably Sword Art Online Abridged, which is probably the best abridged series that will ever exist. So even the things that SAO kind of sucks at, it sucks hard enough that it goes right around to inspiring people to make things you actually love. And production wise, it's very good, the acting's good, the music's good, all of that. I'm actually gonna put it, I can't decide between high B and low A for Sword Art Online. So go on, react with that. What do you think, high B or low A? And in the meantime, I'll come up and do some ara-aras. Meow, meow, meow. Ara-ara, thank you. I think ReZero ending will be bone-crushingly sad. Yeah, I wouldn't put that past Tape Nagatsuki at all. Ara-ara, thank you, Blake Kirkovich. Ironcrad and Alice were really good. The rest... what rest never existed. Not sure what you're talking about. A lot of people really like the Mother's Rosario arc, which was the second part of season 2. I actually found that boring as hell. I didn't like it at all. But I can see why people did like it. It was a more sort of emotional thing. Gave Asuna some character development, although Asuna to me seems to have like a different personality depending on what is necessary for whatever's going on at the time. More than development, she kind of just feels to me like she just acts how she needs to act for the scene to work, if you know what I mean. That might not be a fair judgment of it, it's just kind of the impression I got, which might change when I read the novels. But I never really felt like she was a character that had much of the kind of stuff that made her interesting at first in Ironcrad is all gone, later on. And it is arcs like Mother's Rosario that show her like nice, kind side. And it's like, well, that's good. It's good that she has a nice, kind side, but she doesn't really seem to have a lot else. And they just spend so much time in that bloody lake house, And then the whole plot turns out to be that some people are dying of AIDS. It's like, that's just depressing. I don't watch Sword Art Online for that. I got ReZero if I want to see people suffer, But yeah, I still don't think that it deserves the hate it gets. Even if my least favourite arc was probably everybody else's favourite arc until Alicization came out, which I think changed a lot of people's minds, because the first half of Alicization was actually pretty damn good, I thought. But Gun Gale Online, the actual series, the alternate Gun Gale Online series, I'm not rating. I would count that as a separate thing because it has a completely different cast, and it wasn't written by Riki Kawahara, so it's kind of a spin-off. I haven't seen it though, so I can't really say if I thought it was good or not. The Gun Gale Online arc of the main Sword Art Online series, I mean, the mystery was kind of obvious, but it wasn't awful. I mean, I wouldn't say it was proper dog water. It wasn't boring either. I mean, I kind of like the way that they decided to do a kind of a different style of game to put Kirito into. Oh, lots of people saying that it was filthy dog water, or SAO progressive fixes so much in personality. I have heard that, but I haven't read it yet, and once it comes out in anime form, I'll definitely watch it. I mean, I think there's something about SAO, you know, even though I think it's full of plot holes and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't make much sense. Like, the worst part of it for me is ordinal scale. That's just like an idiot plot. Like, none of it works if you assume that anybody in the story has any brain at all. Like, oh no, the device is taking away people's memories of being in Sword Art Online. It's like, well, just don't put it on then. You know, they're like arguing about it, and then, oh no, it's taking Asuna's memories. And I'm like, she's sitting right there, you dozy git. Just pull it off her head, you know? It's like, I don't get it. And then there's like the fight scenes where it's supposed to be augmented reality, and yet somehow they still sort of fight with real objects in like car parks and stuff, as if there's like the resistance of those objects being real. And it just doesn't make sense. And the whole point of it, of that guy trying to like bring back his daughter using the memories of people who knew her from Sword Art Online, it's like, well, why don't you just use your own memories? You know, you knew her better than these randos that were in the same world as her but potentially never even met her for like 2 years, you know? None of it makes sense, and it was awful, and ordinal scale sucks, but you know, I think I'll stop ranting about ordinal scale. Ordinal scale had some pretty nice animation, and it had that one bath scene that everyone lost their shit about for some reason. But yeah, the plot was just a bit silly. Yeah, I mean, it did have some nice animation, but I think if an anime movie doesn't have nice animation, then it's, you know, it's pretty much dead, isn't it? So I don't know if that's something we can really say for a theatrical movie release makes much difference. But okay, we've got people saying we can't put SAO in A tier, I won't accept this. B easy. Low A. B tier. And then a lot of people who are saying full on dog water. I'm going to therefore put it in B. But where in B? I can't say it's better than this or this or this. I'm gonna put it there, next to Realist Hero. What do you think about that? Mid B. Yeah, that's where it is. I've put it in mid B. But specifically, I think it's about the same as Realist Hero in terms of general quality and entertainment. It's probably, it thinks it's more serious than Diablo over here, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, but writing wise it has probably more flaws than this, so I think here is fair. Realist Hero is better than SAO. I mean, yeah, story-wise it does make a lot more sense than SAO, but I think we can't really ignore the quality of SAO's production and, you know, just how much of a big deal it's been culturally, which I think works both for and against SAO, because I wouldn't be ranting on about, you know, one of these random shows down here that, you know, probably it has more to say about it sometimes than the plot of SAO. But SAO is just one of those cultural touchstones that you kind of end up having to talk about. So There it is, right in the middle. Next we have Shield Hero though. Let's talk about Shield Hero. Is this going to be archived? Yeah, all of my streams just go straight up on the channel in the same form. So if you need to dip out but you want to catch the rest of it later, that's fine, it will be there. So Shield Hero. Oh, sorry. Hey Natalie, did you know one episode in Interspecies Reviewers confirmed it's technically an Isekai series? One of the side characters is talking to a hero from another world. Well, it would only be technically an Isekai series for this purpose if the main characters had been isekai'd. I mean, just being set in another world that occasionally has people from another world arrive in it wouldn't make it an isekai in terms of the premise. So yeah, I mean, that is kind of funny, but I don't think we're missing Interspecies Reviewers from this tier list. I think it would probably end up quite high, but okay, Shieldy Boy. Shieldy Boy for me is a difficult one because I really like the characters and I really like the premise and I liked how it started, but I feel like the story was a bit all over the place in the second half of the anime. That's one of the reasons I'm really keen to read it, because I feel like it's one of those where there's a lot going on. I mean, there's a lot going on in terms of the world and what even the deal is with the heroes and all of that. That is intriguing and interesting, and that's the kind of shit I like. But it's also kind of like, just watching the anime, I feel like all kinds of stuff that I didn't care about was on, and you know, like the stuff with the bird goddess and all that went on for way too long. And then there was stuff that was just kind of underplayed. I feel like there could have been a lot more time spent on the other heroes so we could get to sort of really see their personalities and why it will be so difficult to kind of get them all to work together. I think all of the components are there for it to be really, really good, but just based on the story that we've seen so far in the anime, I feel like it did kind of meander around a bit. So I'm going to put it in S, but I'm going to put it, I think, here for now. I feel like it's one that could go up, and I also feel like it might be one, like with Overlord, where the source material is, you know, gives a lot of that information that you feel is lacking from the anime and means that the story itself probably deserves to go higher. So I'm not arguing with people who say it should be up here or up here, but based just on season 1 of the anime, for me it's here right now. I'm just going to have a quick drink and read through some of the comments on that. Shield Hero anime skipped a bunch of important stuff from the manga, hence why I think A instead of S. I mean, the manga isn't even the original though, is it? Because I've heard that the web novel is very different from the light novels with Shield Hero. So unlike with, say, ReZero, where the light novels are kind of just refined versions of the same story, and Mushoku Tensei is more like expanding on the same story. Apparently the web novel that originally Shield Hero was written as has a very different kind of resolution to a lot of things and is a lot more edgy from what I've heard, and that, to be honest, makes me want to read the web novel version because I love a little bit of edge. But I will be going into reading it soon, so once I finished Overlord, that's the next one I'm going to read, and it may well go up. and it may also go up just on the strength of season 2 once season 2 comes out next season. So for now it's here, but you know, the antagonists are trash, not in personality but in writing. Yeah, I just kind of feel like they're not given enough exposure. If by antagonists you mean like the other heroes, I feel like apart from Bitchface, they don't really get a lot of screen time or a lot of time to really explore why they're a problem. Got to roll out to write a paper for my midterm. Catch you later if you're still streaming. How many more do I have left to go? 9. Hopefully I won't be on for the rest of the whole night. But we've still got some more to do. Coke Zero needs to sponsor Nat. Nah. Ah, man, if they gave me that for free, I would bleed Coke Zero. What's the anime between Cautious Hero and Shield Hero? That is Faraway Paladin. I got to go, but please tell me slime is SS. Well. Ada, thank you, Succubus Bait. I find myself agreeing with most of your placements. Impeccable taste. Thank you very much. Okay. Next, we have I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level. And I really like this. It was kind of, you know, as someone who doesn't normally care for the slice of lifey, slow life kind of shows, this one I did like because the characters were just nicely done. The dynamics between them were funny. It wasn't just kind of let's all be wholesome together. There was a little bit of, you know, a little bit of edge sometimes. And I like the Tsundere Beelzebub. And yeah, I can't really say I put it too high because it's not really a story focused thing, and normally I kind of look for story and things. It's going to be a B, but I don't know how high of a B. I think maybe it goes here. So I think in terms of enjoyment, I'd say probably it's around here. Maybe I'd switch it with Realist Hero just because it's funnier, whereas Realist Hero is more serious. I think kind of like whatever kind of mood you're in, you can enjoy this show, whereas this show you have to have your brain switched on. And my brain is sometimes like lasagna, because, you know. But yeah, I think here is fair. And now we get to this one. Rimuru. He looks so cute here. But yeah, I'm gonna get some hate for this probably, but I think it's a high B. I actually think, and I have said this before, so hopefully it doesn't come as a big surprise, but I actually think Reincarnated as a Slime is kind of overrated. It's very enjoyable, the characters are nice, but that to me is really all. And I would say it goes here, because I actually think Million Lives has a better story. Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to agree with this, but you know, it's my tier list, and maybe it will stop people asking me to make videos about this show, because while I do think it's fine, I think it's good, you know. Most of these are shows I like, you know. This is not a bad place for it to be. I love this show, so, and I really like this one. This is not a bad place for it to be. This is not saying it's bad in any way. I just don't think it has anything good enough to put it higher, you know? I would say it's kind of overrated. A lot of people really kind of love it, and you know, if you love it, that's cool. It's, you know, you're getting enjoyment out of it, it's entertaining you, that's good. but I just can't say that from what it does with the story. There's issues with pacing that are quite sort of off-putting to me. I feel like the change in tone towards the whole genocide thing was kind of unearned. I didn't mind that it happened in the story. I mean, this has dark stuff too, but, you know, these all have darker things in them, but it just felt unearned. It felt like it went from look at all the quirky characters we're introducing one at a time with very minimal conflict, to suddenly, well, one of my friends is dead, let's kill 10,000 people. And if it was a character like him, that would be kind of like, okay, yeah, that was set up for, this is a character that we have. And with him, it just sort of felt like, okay, the show's just decided it's going to be grown up now all of a sudden. You know, it was a bit weird. And I think that that's kind of my main problem with it. It feels very weirdly paced. I think it was improved by the addition of Slime Diaries, because what I thought about the first season was that it was really kind of cool in terms of the characters it introduced, but it just didn't spend enough time on any of them, that it felt like kind of more effort went into making these really good characters and thinking through their cultures and all that, bringing them together, but then you just, that's it, on to the next one kind of thing. And Slime Diaries kind of gave you a chance to see them more interacting, so you could maybe buy into why they care about each other so much, why they interact as friends so much. But I would say that there's another show that's very similar in setup to Slime, in the first season at least, that is this one, Tsukimichi, and I would say Tsukimichi did it better. So I really can't put it that high. I know a lot of people aren't going to like that, but that's just what I think about it. The Tensura novels are super in-depth. Yeah, I mean, I've heard that the novels are a lot better, and I will probably get around to reading them one day, but the anime just didn't really inspire me to want to push it up the list of ones I want to read very soon, like, you know, like Yojo Senki, Overlord, Shield Hero. So, you know, that's kind of where I am with it. Okay, I'm just reading back the notes. You know, like I would have expected, some people agree, some people don't agree, some people think it's, you know, the best isekai. Can we move on to Isekai wa Smartphone, because we're not gonna have any disputes about Isekai wa Smartphone, I don't think. There might be a couple of outliers who like this show. I'm going to put it in dog water, but it's the best of the dog water shows. I'm putting it there. So it's better than Death March to the New World Rhapsody. It's better than Isekai Cheat Magician. Better than High School Prodigies. I'm not really sure. This was probably a bit more creative, but I didn't really enjoy it. And better than Master of Ragnarok. But then not many things aren't better than Master of Ragnarok. So what do you think about that? Like, dog water, but better than the other dog water, just because it was probably the first proper dog water isekai anime, and, you know, you sort of watched it and were like, well, this is terrible, but I'm kind of enjoying it. Victorique 10. Ooh, grazie. Ara, thank you, Victorique. Smartphone deserves better. I will never give it on this. Yeah, we have kind of been talking about this in comments and stuff today. I think if someone likes Smartphone and they're having a good time with Smartphone, that's cool. You know, I think anybody who does like it, though, is enjoying it knowing that they're just enjoying something that they're switching their brain off and having fun with. It's, you know, nobody's saying like Smartphone is brilliantly written or it has the best waifus or anything like that. It's just kind of, yeah, I had a good time watching that, so I like it. And I don't think you really get the kind of disputes over that. It's like when you watch something that everyone thinks is trash but you kind of like it, if you're watching it but you kind of know it's trash and you like it, that's kind of different to, no, this is the greatest show ever, how dare you not put it higher, you know. I liked Smartphone Intro. Fair enough. The top 2 in Dogwater should be a C at least. What, the Isekai was Smartphone and Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. I don't really think that I don't really think they deserve to be higher than Dogwater. I'm only calling it Dogwater because it's like D is the lowest one and I just like saying Dogwater. But I do not see the Rhapsody anime in the list. It's here next to Isekai wa Smartphone and Isekai Cheat Magician. I know some of the pictures aren't really that great, but some of the more obscure shows, it was kind of hard to find a picture of the right size, so you know, they're not necessarily as easy to spot as like these more iconic characters. Next we have So I'm a Spider. I'm going to put this in S but low. Now the reason being that I think it has a lot of potential. I don't necessarily think the anime adaptation was as good as it would have been if we hadn't had the old the Rona. So some of the CGI was terrible, but you know, that's to be expected. And the acting in it obviously was, we were already talking about Aoi Yuki and how amazing she was in that. So, you know, as an adaptation, I don't know how close it was to the novels. I've heard there's a lot of difference between the novels and the manga, and some version, I don't know which way around it is, but one version didn't have the stuff with the other isekai people in the academy being introduced as early. At first, when I first heard about that and I was watching the anime, I thought that it was a good decision to have them shown quite a lot, because I thought they were going to struggle with just having Komoko by herself, you know, talking to herself for like a straight up most of the season of anime, and it was a 2-core anime too. But once we got into it and saw how that was actually executed, where there was a lot of focus on the game stat style mechanisms, and it was just really satisfying watching the bits with Komoko, whereas the other bits, they seemed like there was a good story going on, but you never really got to spend enough time with those characters to really remember who was who and what was going on with them and really care about them. And it was kind of hard to remember, you know, where they were chronologically compared with what was going on in the dungeon parts. So I'm not so sure that the structure of it was quite as necessary as I thought it was when I first started watching it, but it was enjoyable. I can't say I don't care about those other characters. I think I am interested in seeing what happens to them, but more or less I'm mostly just interested in Little Spider, so more of her would have been fine. But Aoi Yuki probably won't be able to speak if she had to do even more scenes. So I'm putting it in S, but a low S for the anime adaptation. I believe it probably would go higher based on the novels, same as kind of what I was saying about Shield Hero and what I know to be the case from Overlord. I feel like it probably could even make its way, maybe one day make its way up here, but at least for now make its way higher up, S tier. But that's where I'm putting it. I don't know what other people think. Yeah, obviously some people think Slime is better than Spider, but you know, I don't think it is, so Ara, thank you Zendengade. Yojo Senki is a great show, and we need more shows set in early modern war setting rather than default to medieval. The movie was excellent. Love Tanya's conflict with being X, as well as the animation quality. SS in third for me. Oh, I hadn't even moved on, but yes, you are right, that is the next one. I think SS as well, but I think SS in fourth, purely because I just love Konosuba that much. Konosuba just brings me so much joy. But in terms of novelty and interest and just doing something different, you can't really beat this one. It's a really good story, and the setting and the style of everything is so cool. And I fully agree that the whole being X conflict it just brings something awesome to the whole thing. And yeah, I just think that is a good place for it to go. I haven't read it yet, so it could even go higher, but I mean, I would say probably when I finished reading everything, I would see Overlord going up into either somewhere between here and here. So I don't know where I would ultimately, if we're not just talking anime adaptations, once I've read them both, I kind of imagine that it will be a tie between these two, just like it's a tie between these two maybe. But, you know, for now I'm just going on the animes, and that's where I'd put this one. Ara, thank you, Blanc Blanc. The sound design is amazing in the series. You mean in Tanya? Or, because I kind of moved from talking, oh yeah, I'm assuming you don't mean in So I'm a Spider, because we talked about that. Spider is better than slime, and low S or high A is perfect. Yep, that's where it is. Thank you. Thank you for the validation, because I really need it today, where I've upset people with a couple of these decisions, like this one and this one. I'm kind of SS on Tanya just to the amazing AMVs it has generated. Yeah, actually that's true. When you look up Tanya, you do see some... I think it kind of inspires people because you got that militaristic kind of feel, you know, that you normally get in the kind of AMVs for Attack on Titan and things like that. But you know, with that kind of aesthetic, with all the military looking stuff. But you've also got the kind of the supernatural stuff, the magic, and the fact that it's about a guy who has a beef with God and gets turned into a little girl in fantasy World War I. I mean, like, just... you pitch that to someone as an idea, it just pops as an idea. Like, you know, compared with a guy, you know, you pick one of these, like, a guy gets transported into the world of a video game that he plays and he's really overpowered. It's like, yeah, I can see that being entertaining, but this, I want to know more about this, you know? And yeah, that's where I am with it. So, next we have The Eighth Son, and I hate this. I hate this show. When I first started my channel, I was kind of like watching this. I was kind of hate watching this show, because you know how, like, I don't know if other people do this or if I'm just a weird person that brings, you know, finds joy in negativity or something. But some seasons there will be like one show that I'm watching just to kind of take the piss out of. And this season it's The Strongest Sage with the Weakest Crest. But at the time when I first started my channel, it was The Eighth Son, because it's kind of like, you know, all the things that people criticize Mushoku Tensei for, in the sense of Rudius being in a younger body and still being interested in girls the same age as his child form. I'm not getting into that debate here, but this has that, but it's not self-aware about it. I mean, like, it's just as if the author forgets that it's supposed to be an isekai, and it's just kind of like, well, yeah, he's 5 now, so he's going to act like a 5-year-old. He's going to, you know, cry all the time and be weird like a child. And then when he's 13, he's going to be like a 13-year-old and he's going to get together with all these little girls. And it's kind of like, if that was just a story about a boy who was born in a fantasy world, who was the 8th son of a poor family, it would work fine, you know? But it's an isekai. And it's a weird isekai too, because the whole setup of it is basically similar to in Ascendance of a Bookworm, where he's not reincarnated. he's not summoned as himself. He basically seems to take over the body of an existing person who's like this 5-year-old boy who this family already know. But unlike in Ascendance of a Bookworm, where that's part of the story and it's explored, in this it's just kind of like brushed aside. Like, we don't think about what must have happened to the original child that, you know, it's very weird. It's just like, you wrote a fantasy story and wanted to make it an isekai, so you just kind of said it was, and put in this one scene at the beginning that makes it an isekai, and then that kind of like just makes it really questionable in so many ways. And yeah, the writing's just awful in this show, and I'm going to put it in the dog water tier, but I still think it's better than Master of Ragnarok, in all honesty. Master of Ragnarok has better ideas, but execution wise they're both pretty lame, but I think this one's slightly better than that one, but I hate them both. Just having a quick look at what people have said while I've been rambling about the 8th son and how much I do not like it. Will this stream be uploaded or removed after you finish? My streams, unless anything weird happens with copyright or anything, they just stay up, so you'll be able to watch it if you want to. I'm looking at the illustrations of 8th son, and are his 7 other siblings all girls? No, I think like none of them are girls. Like, he's the 8th son, so he's the 8th male child, and that's why he can't like inherit anything. So he would normally be poor, but of course he's amazing at magic, so he goes off to magic school and gets a harem, I guess. It's kind of like, it's a story that would be completely fine if you just skipped the isekai part. If it wasn't an isekai and it was just, or you had him be born there, you know, in the same way as Wiseman's Grandchild, which is another one we have on the list to come to in a minute. If you'd just done it kind of like, well, he's isekai, but he was born here, and, you know, we're just skipping to when he's a teenager because that's when the interesting part of the story is, it comes out better. But because of this, it's almost like he's isekai'd as a 5-year-old. We don't explain what happened to the body that he's inhabiting, like what happened to the person that his whole family just sees, like, one in the middle of this party, this 5-year-old kid that they've had in their family just suddenly becomes this guy who's like some like 30-year-old salaryman type guy. It's just like, why even have that? Why not just make it a story about the 8th son of a family who is good at magic and goes to magic school? It's like, just still, I'm gonna shut up about it now, because I think maybe like 3 people in the world care about that show. So let's go on to Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy, which I think is really good. This show is only from like last year, so I think it didn't really receive a lot of hype. I think probably because it was airing in a similar season to things, you know, that in the isekai genre that were more popular. But I thought it was pretty good. It's kind of, it has quite a lot of things in common with Slime, but it is more on the comedy side. But then it also has kind of like, the antagonist is a lot more interesting. There is only 1 season so far, but season 2 has been announced. So even though it wasn't necessarily that widely talked about, in the West at least, I'm assuming it was popular enough in Japan and successful enough to get a 2nd season. So I am hoping for more of this, because it was surprisingly good. It was like, I didn't think it would be anything special. I thought at best it would be something, you know, like maybe one of these in the lower B tier, but I actually think it's better than that. I'm going to put it here at the top of the Bs, Because as I said, I do think it has similar things to Slime, but I think it's actually better. It's better at being this kind of show. The main character is just human, so there is that distinction between it and Slime, but there's very much that sense of, you know, they're starting a country with monsters in their own like space where they can do that, and the rest of the world is quite dark. There's quite a lot of light-hearted humor type stuff in it, but the world itself is not a kind of friendly, wholesome one. So similar to Slime, you know, there's the potential for all kinds of messed up stuff to be happening, but there's also that kind of like wholesome, everybody in this community loves each other kind of feel. And Slime also has that, but it moved away from it in a different way to what I think Tsukimichi is going to do. So, you know, that's what I think about Tsukimichi. Just having a quick look through the chat. I do not recognize number 6 and 7 of A rank. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 is the world's finest assassin gets reincarnated as an aristocrat, and 7 is High Rise Invasion. Let's see some others. Other questions? As long as it's not JK Haru. That hasn't had an anime adaptation, has it? If it gets one, I'll probably watch it. I haven't read it, but you know, I'm curious enough that I would watch an adaptation of it. Just having a look. Admittedly, mine in Bookworm essentially died, so yeah, that's what I mean though. It's like she got put into the body of someone who it is explained what happened to her, you know, and it is something that the character like deals with, and it's important in the story. But in the Eighth Son, it's just kind of like, maybe he died, maybe he didn't, who bloody cares? It's like the guy doesn't even seem to question it, and that's really annoying. You know, like the way it's done, it's like trying to do well, I don't even know if it's trying to do what Bookworm did with that, of having someone inhabit basically a pre-existing person, or whether it's just like it was that ineptly written that they were just kind of like, well, I think I want him to be the 8th son, and I think I'll just put him here, you know. Ara, thank you, Pedantic79. Bookworm should be SSS tier, but based on the anime alone, A is okay. Please read the light novel. Mine is such a great flawed main character. I mean, yeah, when I was talking about the show, that was kind of what I was talking about, why I like the way that she's a flawed character, and I think that's really interesting about her. I think some people don't really view her that way though, which is kind of interesting, you know. I may or may not be talking about certain YouTubers called Noralities, but some people sort of don't think that that's the point of her. They think it's just, oh, it's lovely, she's just wholesome and good, and it's like, no, she's better written than that, you know. But being anime only and not really knowing where they're going with things in the story as it kind of moves into the more magic focused sort of area, I don't really know where it's going, so I feel like this is where I want to put it right now, but it could go up, you know, up to here. I don't think for me it will ever go up to here, because it's just not the kind of story that I think would go up here. But a lot of people would rather watch this than something like Tanya the Evil, so you know, I think that is a taste thing. When it comes down to quality though, it definitely belongs in this upper part of the tier list. Ara, thank you, Berilla92. Can you put your list in the description? Kind of hard to tell from the pictures. Love the stream. Thank you very much. Yes, I can do that, but not while I'm live, so I'll put it up when I finish talking, which won't be too long now because we've only got 2 left to go. And I'm also going to tweet this finished tier list so that even more people can argue with me. Okay, next we have My Next Life as a Villainess. And, well, this one I would have put in S tier, probably low S tier, if it was only season 1. Season 2 I didn't think was bad really, but it just kind of like, it felt like the story had pretty much ended in terms of the original point of the story, you know, like her following the route that she'd seen in the game. But because the romance itself wasn't tied up, and there's still a lot of scope to make funny situations with the whole harem thing. But then it started adding even more characters to the harem, so it kind of got more bloated in terms of, well, who should she end up with? I feel like season 2 was kind of, it felt like it was trying to expand it even more rather than drive it towards an ending. And you can completely understand why you would do that if you were the author of this, you know, show that had become successful, had become the first one in its kind of sub-genre of isekai to get an anime adaptation, because the villainess type thing was already pretty popular in web novels and light novels, and particularly in manhwa, at least so I've heard. And, you know, this was the first example of that to get an anime adaptation. It was a very entertaining series, very funny characters, but I feel like it kind of started to flounder a bit in terms of execution of the concept. If they kept it kind of as a, you know, just turned it into what's basically now a romantic comedy harem, but maybe moved more towards wrapping it up and having her actually choose someone, I think that would have been a better way to go for season 2, rather than just expanding it further and further into even more characters. So I'm going to put it here. So it's a fairly high A. But if season 2 had been a bit different, I think it could have gone in S. That's what I think anyway. Just going to do a couple of Ara. Thank you, Anonymous. Contribution exclusively to encourage more streams. Oh, thank you very much. Any more up here? I've already spoken to Ara. Thank you, Blake Kirkovich. Several people asking where Grimgar is it missing? Yeah, it's not on the list because I haven't watched it. I did talk about that very early in the stream because some people asked me if I'd watched it, and because I haven't watched or read it, it's not on the stream. It's not on the tier list. I have no opinion on it either way. I'm sure I'll get to it at some point, but for now, I can't say anything about it. Yeah, a lot of people highly recommending it. So, it's great that you're all recommending it so much, but obviously I can't download it into my brain while I'm talking and have an opinion on it, so I have to go away and read it or watch it and come back to you on that. I just want to see what people think about where I put Baccarina. Solid A. Some for B or C, some for S. Most people are putting villainess in A. We got a few more. Should be placed next to Demon Lord. I don't know. I think the comedy was tighter in villainess than in Demon Lord. I think they're both good. Not so much in... I think based on season 2's, I think season 2 of Demon Lord was better than season 2 of Villainess. But as overall kind of stories go, I think Villainess has a bit more that I was like invested in seeing how it developed. Whereas Demon Lord is more kind of like, it's just fun adventures, you know. That's really how I feel about that. Ara, who cares 0503, thank you very much. I know Drifters wasn't included. Having met mangaka Kota Hirono makes me prejudiced, given he drew me a sketch of Integra Helsing. The opening song, animation and story so work. Thanks again for your hard work on your content. Thank you very, very much. And yeah, Drifters, as Who Cares has said, because we were talking about this on the comments of my Isekai video, I haven't watched Drifters, and that's why it's not on the list. It is one that I hear nothing but good things about and have been meaning to watch for a really long time. But it's one of those where, you know, I think everyone has a few shows like this where it's like, oh, I definitely want to watch that. I mean, like for me, Steins Gate was like that for a really long time. I only watched it last year. It had been on my, oh, I definitely want to watch that. I'll love that. And yet I never sat down and just went, yeah, I'm going to start it right now, you know, until last year. So Drifters has kind of been on that list of, yeah, one of these days when I'm looking for something good to watch, I'm going to put that on and I'm going to just feast. But I haven't. That day hasn't come yet, so. And then we're actually on the last one. And it is Kenja no Mago, I think. Wiseman's Grandchild. I think that's what these two waifus represent. And I feel bad ending on a dog water, but I think it's either a high dog water or a low C. I think maybe here. I think I like it more than any of these. I don't know. It is another one where people have told me that the light novel series is actually pretty good. But for me, like the anime was just a kind of fairly mid magic school series, which is not necessarily typical in Isekai for there to be a magic school, but if you compare it to magic school specific light novel series, I would say it's probably weaker than things like what was that one? The Chivalry of a Failed Knight, or the Akashic Records of a Bastard Teacher, or whatever it was called. Those two, I think, did the magic school thing without having isekai, but were, I think, more entertaining shows. I think you could probably list loads if we went into the magic school genre, you know, Misfit of Demon King Academy, things like that. And I think Wiseman's Grandchild wasn't terrible, but it didn't do that much with the isekai premise. It didn't really feel like it needed to be an isekai, not to the same extent as The Eighth Son, which forgot it was an isekai. I mean, there was like an advantage the protagonist had from having had a previous life, in terms of remembering some things about science and stuff that helped him to create new magic. So there was like, it wasn't like the author just forgot, like in The Eighth Son, but it wasn't overplayed, and I feel like it felt more like an entry into the magic school genre and a kind of not particularly high tier one, rather than an isekai. So I think for me it can go in C. But I can see why people might have liked that one a bit more than that. I'm just going to go up and answer a couple of questions because we have pretty much reached the end. That is the final tier list. So if you want to change anything, if there's anything you want to petition me to move, then now is a good time to do it. I am open to moving some of these around, but I won't be moving around the ones that we've already, you know, kind of thrashed out as conversations to death. But if there's something like, say you think, you know, Arifureta needs to go up to here or something like that, you know, we can talk about that a little bit. But first I will just answer some questions. Ara, thank you, Anonymous. Now that we're at the end, very quickly, I wonder where you'd place Escaflowne, Fushigi Yugi, and Magic Knight Rayeth. Nowhere, because I haven't seen any of them. Sorry. Of the older ones, I think the one that I've watched the most of, apart from Inuyasha, which we can argue about whether it's an isekai or not, is actually probably Those Who Hunt Elves, which is a very different kind of show. So I can't rank things I haven't seen, and you know, a lot of people asking where Grimgar is, where Knights and Magic is also another one I've seen people asking about. If it's not on this list and it is from the last decade, I haven't seen it. I did cross-check this against a lot of lists of which isekai shows have come out, and I don't think I've missed any that I have seen. So if it's not here, I haven't seen it. You know. I'm just going to see some notes. Would your rankings changed if you rated the series based only on the original source, either manga, light novel, or web novel? Probably, but I haven't read the original source of all or even most of these, and I probably won't, you know, of some of the ones I'm not particularly interested in, you know, the ones that are maybe in a kind of part of the isekai genre I don't particularly care about, like slice of life, or ones that I just didn't think were good enough for me to want to invest time in reading the novels. I'm not going to go, well, it's an isekai novel and I haven't read it, so it could be better than I thought, when there's all of these that I really like that are going to take me a long time to read all of them, if you know what I mean. So while the rankings probably would change for some of them if I did read every single one of them, I don't think it's realistic for me to do that, because I don't have the time to read 48 what are mostly novel series. If they were all manga, I could probably do it, but like I said, I don't really like reading the manga if that isn't the original source, and I think only 2 of these manga was the original source, which would be Million Lives and High Rise Invasion. Sorry, my voice is really going. Ada, thank you, Balsamon35. Nice to see a tier list with a reasonable bell curve. Thank you for this. Was a pleasant way to spend a lazy Sunday afternoon. Well, thank you too. Thank you for coming. And yeah, it does actually have a fairly good distribution. In my opinion, I like the Mushoku novel more than ReZero, but it's the other way with the anime. Possibly. I'm not sure. I'm still... This is kind of like not even just a tier list thing. This is just like an internal question that I'm finding hard to answer in general about which one of these 2 I like the best. Because they are the 2 out of all of these that I'm the most invested in terms of having read, you know, the web novel, side stories, all kinds of extra stuff, spent a lot of time in the communities talking about them, coming up with theories, all of that. So, you know, as much as I might love, say, this or this, so far I just haven't clocked up the kind of mental time spent with the characters and worlds that I have with these 2. And so it's really hard for me to choose between them. It's like trying to choose between your pets or something, you know? But I think objectively, there are just a few things about ReZero that make it more, you know, like my perfect kind of story that I would choose to read. Whereas Mushoku Tensei has a lot of stuff in it that I normally would find a bit off-putting, and I'm not even talking about the stuff that everybody finds off-putting, you know, that I think is supposed to be there and is well written. More I'm talking like there's a lot of stuff about family and children and all that normally bores me, but in Mushoku it doesn't. So I feel like Mushoku is well written enough that it makes me care about things I wouldn't normally care about, whereas ReZero is mostly only just things I like reading anyway. So, you know, I can't really say that one is better than the other, just that one has more features that I would normally be drawn to. The ones I take issue with won't be moved. And yes, Arifureta needs to be moved up. It's trash, but enjoyable trash. Well, it's in C, it's not in the trash pile, it's in the decent pile. You know, I think these shows are all decent and worth a watch. About Arifureta, I feel like maybe it could go higher, but at the moment, just based on the few episodes I've seen, it's here. And, you know, I feel like people who know the story better might well put it higher, which means it is probably better than my judgment. But I don't know that it's necessarily better than Kuma Bear even. You know, I don't know. I'm putting it here for now. But this isn't garbage. This is, you know, decent, worth a look, just not something I'd rave about kind of thing. My main takeaway is I need to watch Devil is a Part-Timer. Yeah, Devil is a Part-Timer is great. It is also fairly old at this point, but there is a season 2 coming, finally. So it's a good time to get into it. Have you read the novels for it? The anime didn't do it justice. Which one, Arifureta? Because no, I haven't. Think High Rise Invasion should be in the trash pile. The anime falls so flat and doesn't do the manga justice. Well, I did read the manga, but I read it after the anime. So I don't know. I mean, I remember the manga better, but I only watched the manga because the anime made it seem cool and interesting. So the anime must have seemed cool and interesting to make me read the manga. That's kind of my logic there, you know, rather than really specifically remembering the differences between the two. Sergio Dana, do you know about Knights and Magic? No, I said before that if it's not on here and it's an isekai from the last decade, I haven't watched it and I don't have an opinion about it. Knights and Magic and Grimgar, you know, people keep asking, but I haven't seen them, so I can't talk about them. I've seen a lot. I mean, you know, there's 48 on here, so I'm sorry if there are ones that you'd like to see on here, but I can't really do anything about it if I haven't seen it. So how fast do you go through light novels? Obviously read at your own fun pace, but just curious. It's not really how fast I read, but how much time I have to do it. When I was going through Mushoku Tensei at the end of last year, on some occasions I was reading literally 3 volumes in a night, because I had time to do that and I wanted to start making content about it, and also just because it was that good that I didn't want to stop reading. Overlord, I'm having just as much fun reading it, but I just don't have very much time at the moment, so I can't spend, you know, 12 hours in a row just reading novels at the moment. Over like the end of the year last year I had time to do that sort of thing. At the moment I don't. So, you know, I know a lot of people are really waiting for me to start covering Overlord and really want that content to start being made, but I have to read the content, I have to read the novels, I have to think through some interesting things to talk about that haven't already been done, and, you know, I can't just do all of that without a lot more background work. So if I could choose to live in one world of any of these isekais, which would I choose? Ooh, that's a very tough question, because, well, some of these have like fun worlds. Like, I definitely wouldn't want to live in this one. This one might be alright. Konosuba might be alright. Tanya the Evil, no. Devil is a Part-Timer, that would just mean living in like Tokyo, so that would be alright. Overlord world, probably not, no. Log Horizon might be alright. No Game No Life, I would suck in that world. I don't have the patience for things like chess. Shield Hero would suck. Faraway Paladin probably would suck. Overly Cautious Hero. If I got to live in the god world where the goddesses live, that would probably be alright, but no, that world that they get sent to save is terrible. I think I would like to live in the world of I've been killing slimes for 300 years, because nothing all that bad really happens in that, and even all the demons are kind of nice. So I think I would pick that world. I don't know, what about you guys? I mean, anything that isn't Attack on Titan, honestly, would be a good fantasy world to live in. Even ReZero, because as long as you're not Subaru, it's not too bad. But will an image file of this be posted? It's really hard to see those tiny images. I'm going to tweet the tier list in general once I come offline on the stream, but you'll also be able to access this on Tier Maker if you want to, do your own version of this tier list. I'll put a link to it in the description once I finish the stream, so you can go and play with it if you want. And you can make your own one where I didn't, put a show you like too low down. So I think with that being the end of the tier list, that's going to be the end of the stream. I hope you enjoyed it, even if it didn't necessarily give you the perfect tier list that you wanted. I hope that you agree with at least some of them. And I hope I at least managed to sort of justify why I put things where I did. Plus, I also hope you've just been chilling out and enjoying listening to an Isekai tier list, even if it isn't exactly the one you would have made. But you can go on Tier Maker, find this template that I made, and make your own. So you can play with it yourself. And with all of that, thank you to everyone who, contributed to this stream, whether by chatting with me in the comments or especially with the super chats. I think I got everyone with the ara-aras. Maybe next week when I next do a stream, I might change that to something else, because it might get old just doing ara-aras forever. Maybe we'll come up with a different way of thanking people for next week. I don't know. But thank you all for joining me, and thank you to everyone who made a donation or who, just showed me some support throughout this. Wow, it's actually been quite a long time. So, good night, everybody, because it is actually 11 o'clock where I am, so it's good night for me. But good afternoon or whatever time it is for you. And have a good rest of the weekend, what little is left of it. Thank you. Goodbye.